Hello traders, Douglas here. Today we are trading the bonds. It's been a while since I've traded the bonds. I wanted to see how it went with the TTW Tradefinder, and we'll get right into what happened on the day for me today. First things first, when I trade the bonds, I'm looking at two charts. I look at the ZB and the ZN. Well, the ZN's the biggest of the bonds, is in the most traded, so we like to know what's going on over there because lots of large orders or big events might happen on the ZN, but the ZB moves a lot more and it's worth more. So where the ZN is worth $15 a tick and moves like molasses, the ZB moves quite a bit more and is worth $30 a tick. Now, of course, compared to like ES or especially something like NQ, both of these don't move at all. But honestly, I kind of like the bonds. If you're feeling a little stressed trading, I would suggest moving over to the bonds on occasion. It's just slower action. You can kind of settle in and take your time. But of course, it is a different game, so be careful there. So let's get right into what we were looking at. I wish I had a little bit earlier of the recording, but so you can't really see what was going on. It was a little bit flat coming into the open at 8:30, and we had these sweeps coming in. So these are measuring orders of specific size that are one order ID. Okay, so I've set it on the ZB at 100 for my sweeps, and so this is 128 contracts were placed right here by a single player at a single time. 149, 122. So they're gearing up, they're buying up orders before the regular market open. Bonds open at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. I'm on Central Time. So, the regular market open, of course, is 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. But so the biggest move in the bonds is usually at 7:30 a.m. Central. All right, so just covering that, but I don't trade that early. So we've got... they've bought in a couple here. This actually would have been an excellent place to get in and just walk away for the day probably, because it doesn't take very many contracts at $30 a tick to make your money. And it gets backed up by this red liquidity here. So you've got a decent size of support right here, potential support, right after you see the buying of the sweeps. And sure enough, after 8:30, it just kind of goes straight up and this is why bonds are a little less stressful, is they don't do the whipsawing back and forth on the way that like ES does constantly. Even on a good day, ES is usually kind of whipping back and forth a little bit, trying to shake you out and whatnot. Bonds have certain days that do that, but it's a little more methodical. So just, like I said, a little bit less stress. Let's go over to the ZN, see what was happening at the exact same time. The ZN was honestly pretty boring today. As you can see, there's really not much, but there's this little bit of support right here, the bigger lines down here. But then there's quite a bit of players up here. So I was thinking that maybe this would kind of is where price would want to go, is to go up and get that stuff up there. So like I said, I missed out on that trade there. And, I was really just trying to get my feet wet on the bonds again because I've been neglecting them for a while. Then the price comes in, kind of settles in. You get a lot of sweeps on the way down. So they're buying on the way down. You do get a couple sell sweeps here, but definitely you can tell that there's more buy sweeps. Okay, that's easy to see. And it comes in, gets this support right here. I would be watching ZN as well, but like I said, ZN really had no signals on the day. It just was kind of boring. Then it moves back up again, breaks that high. Then you get, a sell sweep and it settles back in. So I missed basically between these two moves. I should have played both of those. But like I said, I was just getting comfortable, getting my feet wet and watching it play out. So instead I come over here and at this support line here, we had this 313. I thought that would be good. We have these sell sweeps, but market had been moving up. We've got some support. I was slightly concerned about this down here, this red line, because there's a decent amount of liquidity the price might want to move to, but I bought and I lost. And that's because that's what it did. It did go right down to that. Now here's one thing that I don't play on anything else, but bonds, it kind of matters. You see this line, this white line over here? So that is a built-in standard feature on Bookmap called large lot tracker. So that's a single lot that's showing you the percentage of this liquidity area that is one single lot. Okay, so just under half of this 564 contracts is one lot, one player, one order size right there, right? So you know that somebody big is waiting for something down here. It doesn't always go to these places, but they're really good to pay attention to, because a lot of times that's where price want to go, because they want to get filled. And then once they get filled, you know, you can play it back in the opposite direction. So that's what happens. Price goes right down to that large lot. You see that large lot here, and then boom, that large lot's gone. Okay. And then we get the classic volume market stop from TTW on the ZB. We've got it set to 574. Over on the ZN, we have it set to 2000, I believe. Certain days you might want it set to 3000 on ZN, and then certain days you might want it set to maybe 1000 on ZB. But anyway, 500 was a good bet today. And, you know, it just depends on the volatility and what's going on. If you're getting too many signals, that's kind of when you know that you need to adjust. Okay. You might not know before that happens. So don't try to be Nostradamus. Anyway, you get these sell sweeps into it, and but that just kind of swept right down into that stop, right down into that large lot. Okay. And then it's going back up here. And you see these. So this is when I get back in. You've got a decent amount of support underneath here. You've got that market volume stop. You had the large lot filled. Would have been great if I had been aggressive enough, of course, to get in down here. But I wasn't. I got in more up here. And then price explodes. We kind of get lucky with this play, right? I mean, we're playing off the price action, off of the order flow. So it wasn't a dumb move, but you don't know that it's going to go parabolic all of a sudden. So it just took off, hit this 588 stop run. You can see I got out basically at the very top of that right there. So that more than made up my loss, basically wiped out my loss, and then put me quite well in the money. That was one kind. Then the other one, I was hoping that it would come back a little bit and then keep going and maybe get all the way up to this line up here, but it came back and stopped me out and then just kind of went sideways for a bit. So that's what happened there. If we go over to the ZN, it's the only time that anything interesting happens. Does this little ZN parabolic thing. You have these little buy volume spikes. These are something I don't pay too much attention to yet, but it's just a feature in TTW. The main thing is the market volume stop of 9,000. That's a very large volume stop, so you definitely need to pay attention to that. We stopped recording before it went down, but so, and this is common, right? These aren't always pinpoint accurate. What they are like, hey, heads up, you need to start paying attention. Okay. And so it does break above that. It goes sideways. It breaks one tick back above that high, and then it comes back quite a bit. If my memory serves, we came back on the ZB all the way down to 141.08, I think. I think it came back to all the way to 141.08 before it started going up again. So, you know, that's quite a bit of ways from this 588. This move here is what I was hoping for, obviously. Oh, I got back in. Okay, forgot about that. So price moves right here. I was, you know, remember I was waiting for my second order. That's what this little blue triangle is. I was waiting for that to hopefully go back up and hit a target way up here, but it got stopped out, right? Okay. And then it went flat and kind of retested this little, it's not a low, little pullback area. Had a little bit of liquidity support there. So I got back in once it started moving back up. And then We got that target, hoping for all the way up here. Got this second target right here when it pulled back a little bit, and then that's when it started going down. Okay, so totally forgot about my second winner there. It's a good thing to do your reviews, boys and girls, and that's why. So that's it. That was simple on the bonds today. If you've never seen bonds before, it's probably going to be confusing. You'll probably take way too many trades because you're not used to waiting around for 30, 40 minutes at least, typically between actions. Some days the bonds are moving so slow that you're not going to get anything out of them. So that's why most people just avoid them altogether. But with the way the volatility's been for the last, few years, really, bonds have been just fine to trade. And some days they're even too volatile. Ain't what it used to be, right? So it's a little bit, I'll just show you something over here, just a little tidbit. You see how the standard numbers over here are like on the liquidity, 2,000 is one of the larger ones, almost up to 3,000 with this highlight red up here. And you got like 933, 845. Well, this is on the ZN. When I first started looking at bonds years ago, these numbers would be like in the 4,000s, 5,000s, maybe more. And so that's why it moved a lot slower. There was just a whole lot more liquidity, and it's become a thinner market. And so it started moving more than it did in the past. I don't know if that'll continue forever, but that's the way it is for now. And hopefully we'll make another bond video. If you guys care at all about bonds, just let me know in the comments below. Peace out.